Thank you, Paul. Time now is about 8:13. The case involving the Menendez brothers is about to be back in the spotlight. Later this week, Eric and Lyle Menendez will face a parole board after they were resentenced in May to 50 years to life in prison. But that new ruling made them eligible for parole for the first time since they were convicted in the murder of their parents. This was back in 1989 in Beverly Hills. Some new developments in the case, including new evidence and views on childhood trauma, may not only be factors in the case. It's leading to a lot of questions on how the process works. So if you're interested, we've got Josh Kolsrud. He's a criminal defense attorney here to explain what the parole board will likely be looking at during the hearing. Josh, I know we have you in a lot of times to help us kind of understand these complex cases. So this parole hearing is Thursday and Friday of this coming week. What will the parole board be looking at with such a high profile case like this one?
Sure. So in any parole hearing, especially in California, they look at whether or not in this case, the Menendez brothers are going to be a significant danger to the community if they're released. And they're going to look at a variety of factors. Number one, what have they done while incarcerated? And here, both the brothers have received college degrees. One of them became president of the Prisoners Association. And another was really involved in the AA community. So those are all good things. Although Eric Menendez was actually recently caught with a cell phone, and that's going to count against him. But they're also going to hear from the prosecution. And the prosecution is going to lay out what happened during the homicides. They're going to say that the murders were premeditated, that the brothers spent $14 million soon after the parents were murdered. One of the brothers was on the basketball card of Mark Jackson, and so they were just not living the life of someone who you would think was, suffered from abuse, so to speak. However, the judge in this case, who just looked at whether or not to recommend this case to the parole board, allowed it to happen. He allowed the brothers to be re-sentenced, and so that's why we're even doing this. So California just passed a law a few years ago that said that if you received a life sentence and you were under the age of 25, that you are now going to be considered to be eligible for parole. So that's why we're here. So I think that the parole board is going to give a recommendation to Governor Newsom to release the brothers. And so then it'll be eventually up to Governor Newsom, who has just recently ordered a risk assessment to be conducted on both brothers, where a psychiatrist, a psychologist are going to get together and give a recommendation about whether or not they're a significant danger to the community.
So ultimately, after this parole hearing, it's up to Governor Newsom if they do recommend that they be put on parole. How do you think he is going to react, and is there any indication of what way he may or may not go?
Sure. So I think that there's momentum to have the brothers released. Kim Kardashian got involved. And once you get the celebrities on your side in California, it seems that, it significantly helps your cause. And, here you have the family members of the parents who were murdered, who have written letters on behalf of the Menendez brothers asking the parole board and Governor Newsom to release them back into the community. And, I think that Governor Newsom is going to look at this, and I think that if the parole board does recommend that they be released, I think he's going to do it.
Will we have that decision later this week from the parole board, or does it take them a while to come back with that decision?
I think that there's a good possibility that they will give a recommendation this week. However, they could take it under advisement. So, if the victims wish to speak during the parole hearing, and depending on the presentation from the prosecution, it may take more time because this is a high-profile case. But let's just say it was your regular Joe Blow situation. Like when I used to do this when I was a senior trial prosecutor, it would happen that day. It was almost like a decision that happened right after the hearing. But again, because it's high profile, it may take another extra week or so. But we're going to find out very, very soon.
And these brothers could be out of jail very soon as well.
Oh, yeah, they could be out by Thanksgiving.
Wow. Okay. We appreciate your time. Obviously, a fascinating case. Some people have been tracking since the late 80s when the murders obviously first happened. Josh, welcome back anytime as you help us always break down some cases that a lot of people have interest on.